He survived 3 plane crashes, not 1, not 2, 3 separate fireballs falling from the sky, and somehow he walked away every single time. People called him the luckiest man alive, but fate doesn't like being mocked. Because what finally killed him wasn't a roaring explosion or thousands of liters of burning jet fuel. It was something far quieter, far slower, far crueler. This is the story of a man whose life became a tug-of-war between destiny and death. A man who beat impossible odds 3 times, only to meet a tragic end that nobody saw coming. His story forces us to ask, if you escape death long enough, does it eventually come looking for you? Our story begins in the early 1960s, a time when flying was glamorous, but also far more dangerous than it is today. The man at the center of this tale, let's call him Eric Weiss, wasn't a thrill seeker or a daredevil. He wasn't a pilot or an adventurer. He was a quiet, humble engineer from Austria who loved math, classical music, and hiking in the Alps. He lived an unremarkable life until the sky decided otherwise. Eric's first brush with death came in 1963. He boarded a flight from Vienna to Frankfurt, a short, boring business trip he had taken dozens of times. He found his seat, opened his newspaper, and prepared for an ordinary journey. But halfway through the flight, the aircraft suddenly shuddered, then dropped. Passengers screamed as the plane plunged through a cloud bank. A malfunction in the hydraulic system sent the aircraft spiraling. Eric remembered the sound: metal groaning, loose items clattering, the engines roaring like demons. Then impact. Miraculously, the plane crash-landed in a field. Dozens were injured, several died. But Eric, he crawled out with only a fractured arm. Friends told him he had guardian angels. His mother said it was God's protection. Eric shrugged it off as chance, nothing more. Until it happened again. Just 2 years later, in 1965, Eric was traveling to London for a major engineering conference. The flight never made it. A bird strike during takeoff caused catastrophic engine failure. The aircraft crashed beyond the runway, erupting in flames. Passengers were trapped, screams echoing, smoke pouring into the cabin. And yet, somehow, Eric survived. Crawling through a shattered window just seconds before the fuselage exploded behind him. 2 crashes, 2 impossibly narrow escapes. At this point, Eric's colleagues began refusing to fly with him. A newspaper even ran a short piece calling him the lucky ghost of Vienna. But Eric wasn't laughing. He started having nightmares. Burning engines, falling metal, people crying for help. He questioned every trip, every airport, every boarding announcement. But life is cruelly ironic, because his third crash, the one that cemented him into legend, was on a flight he never even wanted to be on. In 1970, Eric received news that his younger sister was giving birth prematurely. The family urged him to fly immediately. He hesitated. He feared the sky, not out of paranoia, but out of experience. But love pushes people into places they don't want to go. He boarded the flight to Salzburg. 40 minutes after takeoff, a mid-air collision with a small private plane ripped open part of the fuselage. The aircraft lost control. It spiraled downward like a wounded bird. When it struck the frozen ground, The cockpit disintegrated. Most passengers died instantly. Eric survived because his seat section broke off and slid across a snowy field like a sled. 3 crashes, 3 survivals. People no longer called him lucky, they called him cursed. After the 3rd crash, Eric changed. He stopped flying entirely. He moved to a quiet mountain town near Innsbruck. He quit high-pressure engineering jobs and took up repairing clocks. Small, simple gears he could control. No engines, no metal giants, no noise. He avoided the sky, and for a while it seemed like the sky respected that. But you can't outrun trauma. It follows you like a shadow. Eric started noticing strange things. He felt constantly watched, not by people, but by fate itself. He kept hearing the same question from reporters, neighbors, even strangers. How does it feel to cheat death 3 times? That word, cheat, echoed in his mind. Had he cheated death? Or had death simply skipped him temporarily? He began having vivid flashbacks. He'd wake up drenched in sweat, hearing imaginary alarms, smelling phantom smoke. Loud noises made him jump. Passing aircraft made him tremble. After his 3rd crash, Eric had survived physically, but mentally he remained trapped in the wreckage. He tried therapy, meditation. He avoided newspapers, airports, anything related to aviation. Yet the nightmares persisted. And then came the letters, anonymous envelopes delivered to his home. Each one contained the same message: no one escapes forever. At first, he dismissed them as cruel pranks, but the handwriting changed. The postmarks changed. The letters kept arriving. Dozens of them. Someone or something seemed determined to remind him that fate had a long memory. Then came the event that pushed Eric over the edge. One winter evening, while walking home from the local market, he heard the unmistakable roar of an airplane overhead. Old instinct kicked in. He ducked, covered his head, trembled. But when he looked up, there was no plane. The sky was empty, silent. It was the last sign before everything unraveled. Eric's final downfall wasn't violent. It wasn't loud. It didn't come from the sky. It came slowly, like frost creeping across a window. Diagnosed with late-stage trauma-induced anxiety disorder, Eric withdrew from society. He stopped leaving his home, stopped answering calls, stopped opening the curtains. He was a man who survived 3 spectacular disasters, but died from the quiet aftermath. It happened peacefully on a cold January morning. Neighbors noticed his door slightly open. Inside, Eric was slumped in his favorite armchair, a book resting on his chest. No signs of struggle, no injury. Just a man whose heart simply stopped. Doctors said it was cardiac arrest, but the townspeople whispered a different story. Death finally came to collect its debt. At his funeral, people didn't talk about how he died. They talked about how he lived, how he survived the impossible. 3 catastrophic crashes, 3 miracles, a life that should have ended a dozen times, but didn't. Yet those who knew him best understood the truth. Sometimes survival comes with scars that can't be seen, wounds that never bleed, but never close. Eric's life became a legend in Austria. Students studied his case as an example of survivors' trauma. Pilots shared his story in training. And in aviation circles, he was remembered as the man who escaped the fire, the impact, the chaos, over and over again. But the greatest tragedy wasn't the crashes. It was what came after. A lifetime spent living in fear of something that had already happened. So what can we learn from Eric's story? That sometimes the body survives, but the mind stays trapped. That escaping death doesn't guarantee peace, and that trauma, if left unhealed, becomes its own kind of prison. But here's the part that will haunt you. After Eric died, the police opened a drawer next to his bed. Inside were nearly 30 unopened letters, all with the same message: no one escapes forever. The final one arrived the day before he died. But here's the strangest fact of all. There were no fingerprints, no return address, no postal code, no record that they were ever mailed. So ask yourself, did someone send those letters? Or was it something else reminding him that fate always collects what it's owed?